All right, welcome everyone. They kind of ground me in this place. I can't move, which is kind of unusual for me. But let's see if we can manage to do so. Okay, one of those talks that unfortunately will be in English. I'm still working on my French. It's going to take me a few more years, like a lifetime, I would say. So you gotta stick with me with English for a while. Okay, so from zero to production in one conference talk time is the talk that I'm going to be giving today. And you may be expecting Liferay, the portal related talk, and this is not going to be the case because we're no longer a single product company. We kind of do lots of other things these days, and this talk is aiming to show you one of the other things we're heavily working on. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Milan Yankov. I'm currently working as a developer advocate at Liferay, meaning my job is to meet people like you and figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and bring that back to our engineers so they can solve issues for you and make our products even more useful for you. So let's get started. And that's basically all it is as far as slides are concerned, because this talk has no slides. It's like 100% live demo. And with that, I'm just going to move to this place, which is my text editor. And I'm going to start my project from zero. And now the tricky part of this talk is, what is zero? Right? Because when you say zero, a lot of people would say, well, that's absolutely nothing. And that's not the case for me, because I'm a backend engineer originally. So for me, zero is like I already have the front end, I have the UI, I don't have to deal with those stuff. So like a marketing agency gave me the HTML already, so I'm just doing my backend stuff. So that's my zero, okay? So that's the tricky part. So it's not like the zero that you may be thinking about it. So what I have here is a project that consists of HTML, basically. That's a static kind of thing. Well, it's not so static. It has some JavaScripts in it. So for those of you who, this particular project is done with Polymer. Anyone familiar with Polymer? Nope, that's what I figured. But it's a kind of the web components new thing. So it allows you to build like a modular front ends, but that's not the subject of this talk. Anyway, you can build this with pretty much any technology, like HTML with Angular, what is it, jQuery, you name it, right? It doesn't really matter. This particular one uses Polymer, but it's just a matter of where you want to put your JavaScripts in. So what I'm going to be building is an application that you can actually use while I'm building it. So for those of you who have their phones, tablets, laptops handy with internet connection, be ready because you will be able to interact with that thing during the talk, and I'm actually encouraging you to do so. Okay, so I'm not going to go deeply into code here, but just going to show you how that roughly works. So this is my main page. Basically, sorry, no, that's not my main page. My main page is down here. So as you can see, the only thing it does, it includes some Polymer stuff, and it includes this TalkBack app, which is this thing, which includes a bunch of other Polymer components, and so forth. I'm not going to bother you with the HTML code. The only thing that you need to understand is that we have these things called behaviors. And this is, if you think about MVC, this is your actions. So your HTML is the view, and your JavaScript are the actual things, and then you kind of combine those with the Polymer thing. So here I have already some mocking behaviors. So if you look into that is, for example, authentication. So you can see that it has a mock sign-in, which basically uses a local storage to generate random users. So it's not real authentication, but it just works if you run this standalone without any service. So, okay, so now I have this more or less static HTML and JavaScript application, and I want to run it. So how do I run it? So we're going to use this new technology that we developed at Liferay that's called we deploy. So WeDeploy is a new kind of product that allows you to not only host things, but also allows you to use a bunch of services around it. And how do we do that? OK, not this way, this way. So I already have my local infrastructure running here. You can do so by just running it like we run, and it runs locally. And once you have this is my project, all you need to do is do we link. So wait a minute, not my project. OK. So first of all, yeah, see, first thing first. First of all, you need to prepare your project to be run on WeDeploy. And that is, come on, what's going on? Let's see. OK, resizing the screen. So reset master branch to here, heart. OK, so we now have the master branch in the next commit, and I'm going to show you the differences. And this is what it takes you to prepare your project for to be run on WeDeploy. So you create a project JSON file, which basically contains an ID and the container type, the home container, which is the thing that you want to run, the service that you want to run when your container runs. That's one thing. And then for your container, which is my UI container in this case, I'm just going to create a JSON file, which basically says, OK, this is the ID of the container, which is UI, and it's going to be using this thing called WeDeploy hosting as a container. So internally, and behind the scenes, this uses Docker at the moment, but you shouldn't pay too much attention to that because that's an implementation detail. We can change the underlying technology at any time. From your perspective, it should be that's my container, and what it runs underneath, it's just irrelevant for you. OK, so now that I have this, I can actually do WeLink. And as you can see, because my infrastructure, local infrastructure is already running, it already starts the container for me with whatever was there. So if I'm lucky and it all works as expected, this URL should allow me to go and open my application, which is right, it looks like this. So as you can see, I'm directly accessing the UI container here. I can also do this, though. Just ask my application to open, and because I said the UI is the default container, this is where it goes. As you can see, I can sign in, and that's the dummy signing I was showing you. So it just signs up as a random person. So nothing works in here. I can. The purpose of this application is to allow you to give me a live feedback while I'm doing the talk. So as a speaker, I can create a talk. Let's call it test. Boom. It doesn't work because obviously there is no backend services implemented, so it has no way to store things. But once it works, then as an attendee, you will have the talk in here. You can click on it, and you can send me your feedback. OK, so now let's make that thing work. So this is for this to happen, we're going to move one step further. And first thing to do is to add the Authentication Service so we can actually log in. Or actually, before doing that, let's go and publish this online so you can already access it. How about that? So I'm going to go here, and this is my WeDeploy hosting service. And I already have created this thing, this project called TalkBack. So, and as you can see, it has no services. If I click, let's just demonstrate that to you. If I click here, this is what I get because it's just an empty project. But if you go to deployment, it actually tells you that the only thing you could, the easiest way to deploy stuff is, and I hope my internet connection is sufficient for this talk. Please, because without internet, we're going to be really doing nothing here. OK, let's try to see Okay, here we go. So it tells you that you can just link your existing Git repo with deploy and deploy your stuff. So what I can do now is I can just say git push to deploy. And if I am lucky, this is going to push some stuff to my hosting environment, which is in some data center somewhere. Hey, it works, luckily. So if I go to here, to the overview now, you see that it says that I pushed something. It already realized that I've pushed my changes to deploy, and it starts building my containers. So there is already an UI container. Because it's currently starting as an unknown state. So you could just list your services or containers. We use these words like exchangeably. Or you can just go to your logs in here and see what is actually going on. So you see the container is currently starting, setting up some stuff. So you need to give him a little bit of a time to actually start. Oh, here you go. It's now online. So if I now go here, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because of a bug that they haven't fixed yet. It does not recognize the default container from my configuration, so I have to change them manually for now. So one thing to notice, because we're going to see a lot of bugs when I'm doing these things, and you may be like, oh, what the hell? Well, notice the alpha. This is something we're currently working on. It's not something that you're going to be using in production tomorrow. So there are a lot of sharp edges in here, but hopefully I'll be able to work around them so that you can actually feel how the service will look like and experiment for yourself. So now my UI is ready. So let's reload this. And if this works, which hopefully should happen now, you will be able to access this on any device that you have by just going to this URL, talkbackwithdeploy.io. Of course, if it works. Yay, here we go. So if you want to try it out, please do so. Hopefully the internet connection is enough to serve every one of you. Obviously, login still is like the one that doesn't do much. Okay, so let's fix that. So my next comment is actually fixing the logging thing. So I'm going to reset my master branch to the next comment. And wait, where it is? Here it is. And show you how that differs. Okay, so those are the changes. So first of all, we created an authentication container. And in that container, we use deploy Auth. So this is the service or the container that allows us to authenticate. And we said that we want to use authentication with GitHub and with Google. We have a bunch of other providers, but I'm just going to use these two for the talk. All right, it wasn't me. And then we need to change our mock implementation of logging with a real one. So here it is in behaviors. I'm just gonna, in here, all I'm doing is I'm just using now my real deploy authentication instead of mock one that I had before. So that's the one, the change. And the other one is my real authentication. So this is all JavaScript code. So basically what you can see here is things like sign in with GitHub. So what happens is we use the authentication service that we just created and say we want to sign in and we're going to be using GitHub as a provider, or we want to sign in and we'll be using Google as a provider. So we're just changing the calls. They don't go to the mock anymore, but go to the authentication service that we created. Okay, so I'm not going to do the local stuff anymore. I mean, I can, but it's just going to take time. I'm just going to go directly to the online service so you can guys use it directly. So let's do the exact same thing again. We're just going to push that change to deploy. So this is going to take a little bit of time. Hopefully the internet is going to be good enough for all of us. Please. Now, the organizer said we're going to have a pretty good internet connection. Well, let's try that again. Hey, here we go. So, okay, so let's see what's happening here now. So, as you can see, it immediately realizes that I've pushed changes and start rebuilding stuff. And as you can see, my authentication container is starting up already. So I don't have to go click in here, even though I can just go here and click create new service and create authentication service. But just because I've pushed some code, it already realizes what I want to do. Now, the configuration that I showed you was for my local service. So let's see, okay, this is going to be really slow today. Okay. So last year I was making laugh on some of my colleagues doing live demos. It's like, you should never do a talk that relies on an internet connection. And here am I doing the exact same thing. So, okay, container started. Okay, so, but now if you go to this container, the authentication container or service, whatever you want to call it, because it's container underneath, so we kind of use the name container, but probably the better word is service. So if you want to use the authentication service, you actually have to provide like the security stuff for the remote service, which you can do with environment variables. And so now you're going to have to see me for like 15 seconds doing stupid things like copy pasting, because they never implemented a bulk import. So, and yeah, let's just tell the service what we want to use. Here we go. And also we need to, for each provider, we have these three things. Well, I mean, depends, but for GitHub and for Google at least we do. So you have the secret, the code, and the flag that tells you whether or not this is active. So this is what the whole thing I'm doing here. So. And here we go. Last one. Sorry for that. Okay, update environment. Okay, so environment updated. Let's go in the overview. So it says, okay, it updated some environment. So now, from that point on, you should be able to actually go in here, load that application, and log in with either your GitHub or a Google account. And as you can see, it already, because I'm already logged in GitHub, so it already recognizes me, and I'm already logged in. Okay, so, but this thing still doesn't work. I can say test and try to add a talk, and it still doesn't work. That's because our persistence stuff is still not wired through anything. It's still the stupid mock thing that does nothing, okay? So let's fix that. How do we fix that? Well, we introduce another service, and I'm showing you the differences right now. Here we go. Okay. And okay. So this is what happens here now. Is we created a new service. We call it data. And this is its container JSON. So it basically says use we deploy data service. And that's pretty much it. It's called data. Okay, and now we also have this JSON that specifies what we're going to be storing in this data service and how we're going to be accessing it. So if you're familiar with REST APIs, this is pretty much the same thing. So you're basically saying that, in here, we're going to be storing something called talks, and we can send GET requests to get all the talks. We can also do post, put, and delete to actually manipulate those. And the other things we have is comments, and so we can also deal with those. Now, this is very simple, and this is totally open, so there is zero security in here. So like pretty much anyone can issue a delete request and drop the whole thing off. Please don't do that during the talk. If you actually want to deal with security, there is another version of it, so you can add this. I'm not going to using it because it's more complicated for the talk and takes more time, but actually it is possible to secure your APIs, to say, okay, well, this thing is only available for logged-in users or users with these credentials or whatever. But we're going to deal with an unauthenticated kind of thing now. Then we provide our implementation of the Polymer JavaScript kind of thing. So here is how we store talks, for example. So for example, this is, so we have like a save talk function, which basically uses the data service and calls create, and in the collection of talks, creates something with this properties. So we basically saving stuff by simply calling a RESTful service somewhere. We're getting stuff by calling a RESTful service. So again, how that data is persisted behind the scenes is not something that is of your concern. All you need to know is that you're dealing with consistent APIs that can store and retrieve data for you and for your application. Okay, so let's go and deploy that. Please, internet, thank you. I appreciate it. Don't screw my talk. That's probably going to take some time. By the way, did you manage to log in? Anyone? All right, few people. That's good. I mean, I really look forward to your feedback, so please do. Please log in. I mean, for a second, you may not be able, because once this thing hits in, oh, here we go. The services will be restarting again. So, hey, it realized again that I've deployed something. So it's going to be rebuilding all the services. Now, as you can see down here, because you may be wondering, like, wait a minute, every time I push, it shuts down the whole thing, and then so my service becomes immediately unavailable to my customers. That is true at the moment, but if you look down here, you have like services and containers. And once this thing is live and no longer in alpha, you can actually have multiple containers, multiple instances of the same services. So you could be, at that time, you will be able to do what is it called, the RedGreenBlue Deployment. So you would be able to actually have a bunch of instances up and running, serving customers, while you like update a bunch of other instances and then just hot swap them. And so for now though, you are only limited to have like 5 services, because this is still in alpha and we're still like playing with it. Please work. Okay. Okay, so my intention was to click around the thing while it deploys, but basically with the internet connection of that speed, I can't even do that. Okay, and also you need to. The reason I'm saying you can't go live, or it's not production ready, it's still alpha. That means we change APIs a lot, and we change them often. So I just realized, like I tested this I don't know, a couple of days ago, and just 1 hour ago there was a change in the API of the data API, so I had to do a workaround to actually make this thing work, like literally 15 minutes ago, 15 minutes before I got on stage. Okay, so you can see now it is my data service is now up and running. Okay, so now I already have 3 services, and I can actually now do stuff. So let's reload here. Okay, so I'm logged in. I go as a speaker, and I'm going to create a talk from 0 to production. And I'm going to add this talk. And here it is. You should be able to see it. And if you log in as an attendee, you should be able to see that talk in your device, right? You should be able to click on that, and you should be able to add comments. And hey, some people do. Hey, good, thank you. Okay, wow. Okay, now I can go as a speaker and click on my talk, and I can see this. I can see who says what. Hello, good, awesome, thank you. All right, so this is basically how easy it is to build an application with Deploy. How much time I have? 10 minutes? Okay, so if you have any questions, yeah, you can just write them here or shout at me. I'll let that thing work. I wanted to show you one more thing, which is kind of like totally a little bit off this talk, but because I'm only showing you like JavaScript and stuff, we do have other services. And you can run Liferay on Deploy. So basically, all you need to do is just create a Liferay service, and it's going to directly create. I'm not going to create that because it takes a little bit of time. But if you go to the project itself, install service, you can see we have a lot of services, and one of them is Liferay. So you can just click a button and have your Liferay running on Deploy. Again, that's not something you want to do in production right now. But the idea is you will be able to do it. And guess what? We also have a Java service. So if you want to build your, I assume most of you use Liferay, so you're Java developers, so you want to build probably some Java applications. So if you want to do so, that's cool, you can just use Java for that. And I can quickly show you how that is done, because we have a boilerplate application for Java, which this tutorial tells you how to use. And I'm just going to follow the instructions on here so that you can see that it works. Obviously, when it reloads, please. Okay. Probably should have used my own internet connection for this. Too late now. Please. Hey, and any Ruby developers? Anyone? Ruby? Please, come on. Nah. Okay, we desperately need those to test it. And Node.js? Any fans of Node.js? Okay. Not. Okay, so yeah, we're adding more of those. We're adding like all kinds of technologies. It's not going to be limited to Java. It's not going to be limited to Liferay. We basically want every single developer out there to benefit from that technology. Okay, I guess I'm not going to do the Java stuff because yeah, I guess you're commenting too much, right? That's what. Oh. Okay, yeah, and by the way, if you send me a thumb down, please tell me why. I really want to know that. It's random. Okay, so I think it went much quicker than I was expecting it to. Probably I was too worried and took a little bit too many shortcuts. Not this way. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. And because it is an alpha version of it, it's really, we can play with it a lot. But basically what we want you to do is to try it out, look around the stuff that you do, and figure out in which scenarios this may work for you or may not work for you, or what else you want to have there, or if those services are like proper or not, or they should be done differently. Basically, the thing that we're looking for now is feedback, because we don't want to be the smart people, the smartest people on earth that's going to build the thing on our own and tell everyone, oh, this is how you use it. That's not how we work. We typically want to hear some feedback, want to hear how you use the stuff, what it means for you. So that's the URL is wedeploy.com, obviously for the WeDeploy project itself. We also have a Slack channel. I mean, apparently, a couple of years ago, I heard someone saying that for a person, if it's not on Facebook, it doesn't exist. And apparently these days, if a project is not on Slack, it doesn't exist. Don't ask me why. It appears to be this way. So anyway, for those of you who are Slack fans, we do have a Slack channel, so please join. All the engineers working on WeDeploy are actively participating on the Slack channel, so you can talk to them directly, ask your questions, send your requests and stuff like that. Obviously, you can follow WeDeploy on Twitter, yeah, basically that's the purpose of this talk. It's not to get you use WeDeploy in production tomorrow, but more to actually get your hands dirty with it and tell us if that is the right direction or what else you can benefit from, and we're looking for it. Thank you, and now I guess we still have full time for questions. Thank you. Any questions? You can ask in French. I have someone to translate for me.
That's good. Yeah, we can do that. Typical question, I'll start with a hard question up front, and then maybe you have some softer questions. It's an alpha, so the question is when? That's a hardball question within Liferay.
Right, so, and the answer is the one that Liferay always gives, when it's ready. Now, the truth is, and that's probably one of the questions that I was hoping to, not hoping, but like expecting to show up, which is the other question, as like, what about support and those things. So this thing right now is something that we already use in production, by the way, but that's because we trust ourselves, right? So you can actually use it in production if you have unlimited trust in Liferay in our team. But jokes aside, we're trying to figure out a way to support that thing. So basically provide you with backups, provide you with like a high quality support the same way we have for the Liferay portal and so forth. So there is going to be a commercial version of WeDeploy coming up with, I mean, that does not mean there's not going to be a free version of it. The free stays. But on top of that, there's going to be a commercial support for WeDeploy. And that is what we are currently, like the team is currently trying to figure out the model. How do we best support that so you can actually run production applications on WeDeploy and feel safe and feel secure. And also, if you have any like feedback in that regard, please give it to us. It's going to be very valuable. So I think that's the first step. And once we figure out the model, then I think we technically we can release at any time. The question is like what features you're going to get in, right? Obviously, the first version it's not going to be like with everything possible. So the question is rather what we fit in by the time we release. So as you can see, we already have Java support, we already have Ruby support, Node.js support. If it turns out that it's like for everyone it's crucial to have, I don't know, Scala support or Go support or whatever, then that may change some plans. But in general, the service is almost ready to move to beta, and from beta to be released officially as like stable.
For Liferay development, how do you manage with the license?
This here, the one that I showed you right now, that's Liferay Community Edition. And for now, the only thing that you can run on WeDeploy is Community Edition. And how we deal with Enterprise or DXP, that's part of the discussion about the commercial offering. Because DXP is a commercial product, so obviously it's not going to be available in the the free offer of WeDeploy. But we definitely want to have DXP as a service, as one of the services in WeDeploy, and that is being discussed right now. What is the best way to offer that? Again, if you have any suggestions or ideas, or just want to tell us how you imagine that being the most useful approach to you, just let us know. Obviously, I can't make any promises, but we want to consider all possibilities.
Are you open source?
The WeDeploy itself, the product is not open source, but all the APIs and clients are open source. So you cannot get WeDeploy and run it locally, if that is your question. It is a closed source project, but everything that is on the communication part or communication side is open source. So, and we have no, I'm not sure what is the licensing right now and what is the final licensing is going to be, but I think it's going to be pretty much open source friendly. That is, it's not going to restrict you to run any open source projects on WeDeploy, right? You don't have to buy a license, or you don't have to make your project compatible with anything in order to run with WeDeploy. But the WeDeploy core itself, it's not.
Okay. And will it be possible someday to install it on premise?
So we got this on, is it possible to run it on premises? We have some people asking for it. Again, this is being discussed right now. I don't have the answer for that. I think it may be if there is enough demand. But then again, it's a matter of, I think the question is more on the legal side than technical side, because technically, we can do it tomorrow. Right, and it's not a problem from any technical perspective, but it is not an issue, but something that needs to be resolved from legal and contract perspective. And this is being discussed right now. If we want to offer that, and when, and under what contracts.
One
All
more,
right,
or done, or one more?
I think we out of time, but I'll be around, so feel free to find me and ask any questions that you may have. So one more time, thank you, and go try WeDeploy and tell us what you think about it. Thank you.